In this video, we'll take a look at what are pseudo selectors in CSS. There are mainly two types of pseudo selectors, pseudo classes and pseudo elements. So these pseudo selectors don't select the element, but they select a part of the element, or sometimes they are used to select specific elements based on certain context. So first, let's take a look at what are pseudo classes. Pseudo classes are used to select elements when they are in a particular state. There are a lot of pseudo classes. Let's take a look at a couple of them. So here we have an anchor tag, and when we hover over this element, we want to change the color of this text. So for that, we can use a pseudo class called hover. So let's go to our style.css, and we have this universal style over here. Let's select our anchor tag, and to use a pseudo class, all you have to do is type a colon and then the name of the pseudo class. So the name of our pseudo class is hover, and when we hover over this anchor tag, we want the color to change to red. So let's type color red over here, and now if I hover over this anchor tag, we can see that the color changes to red. So this is basically how you write a pseudo class. So first of all, you have to have the selector, and then type colon and then the name of the pseudo class. Now let's take a look at one more pseudo class, and it is called first child. So let's go ahead and create a UL, and we'll create some LIs over here. So we'll type menu, and we'll just duplicate this. So here we have some list items, and now if I want to select the first list item, then we can use a pseudo class called first child. So let's go to our CSS, and here we'll type ul li, and we'll type colon first child, and here we will set the color to say green, and here we can see that the first list item has a color of green and all the others have the default color. In the same way, we can also select the last child. So for that, we have to type ul li and last child, and we'll set the color to red, and here we can see the last list item has a color of red. So in this way, we can use pseudo classes in our CSS. So there are a lot more pseudo classes which you can look up on the internet. There's a whole list of pseudo classes, but these are the commonly used pseudo classes, and if you want to learn more about this, you can refer the MDN web docs. Alright, so now let's take a look at what are pseudo elements. So let's go to our HTML, and we'll just delete this, and here we'll create an h1, and we'll type something over here. So here is our h1. Now let's see how to use the after and before pseudo elements. So let's delete all this, and here we'll type h1, and to use the pseudo elements, you have to have two colons, and after that you have to type the name of the pseudo element. So we're going to use after, so we'll type after over here, and in curly braces you have to have some content. So we'll type content, and we'll type end over here, and we can see end is displayed after our h1. So we can also style this. We'll set it to red, and we'll change the font size to say 12 pixels. And you can add more styles and make it look the way you want. So this after pseudo element is inside this h1. It is just after the content of the h1, but it is basically inside the h1. So let's go ahead and right click over here and click on inspect. And if you open this h1, we can see we have this hi everyone content over here, and then we have this after. So this is basically inside our element. So this is how after works. Now let's add a before. So this is basically just like the after. So just copy this, and we will type before, and here we can type start. So this is how you use pseudo elements in CSS. Now of course you won't type start and end for the h1 using before and after, but you can use your creativity and create awesome designs using the pseudo elements. Now let's take a look at one more pseudo element called first line. So we'll go ahead and create a paragraph, and we'll type some lorem ipsum text. I think that's a lot of text, so we'll just delete some of these. So here we have our paragraph. Now if you want to select just the first line of this paragraph, then you can use a pseudo element called first line. So here we'll type p : first line, and here you can apply some styles. So we'll type font weight bold, and here we can see only the first line of this paragraph has the font weight of bold. We'll also change the color of the first line. Now if I just zoom out our web page, we can see that the styles are still applied to the first line. So this is how the first line pseudo element works. While we are here, we will also look at the first letter. So we'll type first letter, and we'll give it a font size of let's say 24 pixels. So here we can see the first letter has the font size of 24 pixels, and the whole first line has these styles applied to it. So in this way we can use pseudo selectors in CSS. There are a lot more pseudo elements, and you can find them on MDN web docs. So that's it for this video. See you in the next one.